Have you ever seen an anime do this? Anime changing art styles mid-episode isn't a new concept, but this method of constantly and coherently switching animation dimensions isn't just for style points. It's being used as a serious form of visual storytelling in a way I've never seen before in this medium. If you ever brought up executing this idea to most producers, they'd scoff at how absurd and difficult it would be to pull off. This wouldn't be a single studio effort. It would require the focused collaboration of multiple studios animating in distinctly different styles, coordinating across 24 episodes with almost zero margin for error. Despite having all the odds stacked against it, To Be Hero X managed to achieve this ambition flawlessly. To Be Hero X is a Chinese anime, formerly known as donghua, co-produced by Aniplex, Chinese social media giant Bilibili, and B-Dream. B-Dream is an anime planning and production company, originally founded by Hoaling Li, the genius behind Link Click, and he's the creator of To Be Hero X as well. From a visual storytelling perspective alone, To Be Hero X is one of the most fun shows I've ever watched because it makes an active attempt at pushing the boundaries of animation and depicting different stories in as many unique ways as possible. It pairs this with a unique narrative structure that focuses on almost a dozen different main characters to deliver a one-of-a-kind experience that'll leave you begging for more. To Be Hero X is one of the best anime to have come out over the past decade, but I won't stop there. I genuinely believe it's one of the most impressive animated projects ever made. Writing a story with multiple main characters all converging around a singular event is extremely difficult. Not only do the motivations of all of these characters clashing with each other have to make sense within the context of the world, but all of their interactions have to be extremely calculated and purposeful. Flubbed interactions early on will only compound and lead to plot holes down the road if characters are introduced at the wrong time or have access to information they shouldn't have. To Be Hero X takes this difficult plot structure head on as it introduces 10 main heroes across 24 episodes, giving them each unique powers and stories that interweave. Each of these heroes gives a different take on what it means to be a hero in an advanced, capitalistic society where money is the main motivator and clicks are all that matter. Through these heroes, To Be Hero X explores the darkest spots of society, highlighting how fickle humanity can be and how trust is easily manipulated in the digital era, where all information in the world is carefully curated at your fingertips. The first hero introduced in To Be Hero X is Ling, who represents the average person who genuinely wants to help those around them. Since Ling isn't a hero at the beginning of his story, his arc is the perfect opportunity to set the groundwork for the complicated world of To Be Hero X. In this world, anyone can become a hero. That's the first core theme that's presented in the show. The power system is trust. The aptitude of a hero is measured numerically through trust value that anyone can see on their wrist. The higher a hero's trust value is, the stronger their abilities will be, although this comes at the cost of their regular human personality and life being overridden by how the public perceives them as a hero. There's a famous hero called Firm Man who quickly rose to popularity after going viral as a firefighter who saved a little girl by holding up rubble. Due to his popularity and public perception of Firm Man being someone who holds up society, he's physically unable to bend down. Another top hero named Smile can't physically stop smiling even when he's feeling nothing but agony and loneliness on the inside because he's been a public, Superman-esque figure for so many years, which has caused him to be distanced from his family. The concept of heroes being unable to escape their built-up public perceptions, whether they like it or not, is really interesting and is one of the main reasons To Be Hero X's power system stands out so much. This power system has managed to leverage something as intangible as trust into a numerical value in a way that actually makes sense. Trust is easily gained in general with the advent of social media, and To Be Hero X does a phenomenal job exploring how easily society dulls and takes away trust. Upon first impression, a power system like this really shouldn't work, but within the context of the world it takes place in, it works perfectly. In the current day, heroes usually get their big break on social media through a platform called FOMO, what you could call To Be Hero X. At the beginning of To Be Hero X, when Ling is introduced, it had been 41 years since the formation of the Hero Commission, an organization that oversees all hero agencies and also hosts a ranked tournament every 2 years where the top hero, referred to as X, is competed for and decided upon. X represents both the title of the top hero and also the idea that anyone can become X. There are quite a few hero agencies that employ top heroes, although only a few of them are the big dogs that are prevalent throughout the story, like Mighty Glory and DOS, often cooperating with the commission. Due to the popularity of heroes, hero commissions have raked in money from all sorts of different avenues, from hero merchandise to using heroes to advertise real estate that their agency had invested in. Ling is initially a promo video maker for heroes, but after getting fired, he happens to be standing on top of a building where a tragedy is about to occur. To Be Hero X wastes no time throwing viewers off the deep end, the boy style. Within a few minutes, a top 10 hero named Nice willingly plummets into the afterlife right next to Ling, and all hell breaks loose. Almost instantly, the shine of heroes is smudged, as Ling and the viewer quickly realize that when it comes to this hero business, actually helping and saving people is at the bottom of the list of priorities. Nice's agent hardly breaks a sweat worrying about her now dead superstar, and instead rushes to replace Nice with Ling so that none of his supporters notice he's actually gone. Although this way of ripping off the thin veil hiding the fabrication of hero rankings and abuse of the trust system is a bit on the nose, it prepared me for what kind of story To Be Hero X was going to be, and how dark the secrets of the hero commissions would get if this was just the beginning. Throughout Ling's arc, he's given a girlfriend who's also another famous hero to boost both of their trust values, is forced to live with her even though she hates the situation, and is also repeatedly told to ditch doing actual heroic activities activities and instead staying put to keep up the illusion of the real nice being alive. Lin Ling's body, tone, and mannerisms physically change as he's now aligned with the public view of nice. We progressively see the real Lin Ling get bogged down and brutally stripped away by a greedy agency who only cares about how well their Twitter interaction bait posts are doing. Upon watching Lin Ling's arc, I thought To Be Hero X was going to be a critique on brutal idol culture, as so much of Nice's persona was completely made up for cameras, and his believers seemed to be as crazy as idol fans in real life. However, when the next hero was introduced, I realized that To Be Hero X was going to be tackling as many angles as possible when it comes to exposing the fraud in the hero industry, along with the tragic souls who lose themselves within it. At the end of Lin Ling's arc, we get a glimpse of a hero named E-Soul, which leads into the next arc. This arc takes a completely different approach from Lin Ling's and focuses on an orphan who was saved by E-Soul and eventually became an E-Soul impersonator to get a chance to meet his hero. The main character of this arc, Yang Cheng, is a deeply troubled student who has developed an inferiority complex due to its extremely low trust value that came from him having no family. The low trust value has also led to him never getting any good job opportunities, again highlighting how important trust value is within society, as it isn't considered only when it comes to heroes. Yang Cheng is unable to bring himself to confess to his crush, even though he's given multiple opportunities to, and even discredits his own hard work when it comes to being the best E-Soul impersonator. His desire to be recognized as someone that can stand up proudly to E-Soul is something that's ultimately taken advantage of in a very cruel and sick way. Yang Cheng's arc is what really kickstarted my love for To Be Hero X because of how real it felt. His circumstances led him to becoming someone who could be molded by the only adult that supported him throughout his life and ultimately turned him into a heartless puppet carrying out agendas while masquerading as a hero. The way Yang Cheng and E-Soul's clash is set up is incredibly written, and once I found out why this clash happened in the first place and how far these hero agency executives will go to maintain figurine sales and popularity of their top heroes, I felt sick to my stomach but also extremely intrigued to see how the rest of the top 10 heroes got to their positions. It's after Yang Cheng's arc where everyone collectively realizes that all of these coveted heroes that seemingly have the strength to move mountains are all mannequins of middle-aged men who can make or break their lives based on how much profit they bring in. Following Yang Cheng is Lucky Cyan, a luck-blessed singer who spreads joy across the world. Basically, they made Miku into a superhero. Her arc explores how religious fanaticism can come into play with supernatural powers like the ones heroes possess. It did a great job showing how quickly people turn on their saviors after blessings stop flowing, and the blame that's placed on those saviors when their lives aren't sunshine and happiness. After Lucky Cyan is Queen, a child prodigy obsessed with rules and excelled at everything before she ran into the top hero of her era and fell into crisis. Loli's arc follows hers, focusing on the struggles of a cute anime girl who wants to be a strong hero but her appearance causes no one to take her seriously, as women still deal with unfair, bigoted prejudice in this world despite being frequently more competent than their male counterparts. Her arc is the starting point at which all of these top 10 heroes begin to converge around an event called the Ruins Incident. It's here where To Be Hero X really ramps up in lore and begins to impress with its storytelling, especially as the same events begin to be rehashed through different POVs and key moments are completely recontextualized. As more heroes get introduced, more questions about the formation of the Hero Commission arise, along with the origin of the trust energy source, especially when a new energy source called Fear is discovered that directly combats trust. Why did the Hero Commission form? What disastrous event occurred almost 50 years ago that prompted all of these greedy executives to join forces? These questions are slowly answered through different characters, and the story does a great job not letting the viewer know too much information about certain characters and events, and instead waits for those characters to explain the big picture as the end draws near. Lin Ling's arc takes place furthest in the future compared to other heroes that are introduced, and we get closer to the initial calamitous event that formed the Hero Commission. The narrative is wrapped up perfectly by the last episode, as episode 23 ends pretty much where episode 1 starts, and episode 24 kicks off the grand tournament for season 2. To Be Hero X does a brilliant job redoing the same scenes with POV switches so that entire moments are recontextualized. There's a hilarious driving scene of a top hero named Ghostblade working alongside a hero named Little Johnny from another agency. Ghostblade, known as a silent assassin to the public, is physically unable to speak, while Little Johnny is the most hyper-social butterfly around. The first iteration of this scene is through Ghostblade's eyes, where he's stuck in a car with some annoying kid yapping about Lord knows what before he randomly starts crying. I was laughing watching this scene the first time, but the second time around, this scene is seen through Little Johnny's POV, and it immediately goes from hilarious to heartbreaking. Little Johnny's crying isn't random after seeing his backstory, and he goes from being this bird brain to a hero who's trying his best to achieve his tragic goal. On top of that, there's a relationship between Ghostblade and Little Johnny that one of them doesn't even know about, that the viewer does. So seeing them interact repeatedly knowing this information turns these seemingly lighthearted scenes to extremely tense, as you expect hell to break loose at any moment. When more heroes converge, moments from earlier episodes are revisited, moments that ended up being largely consequential down the road, but they were so skillfully interwoven into the story that I glossed over them when they initially happened. It's very easy to have unresolved plot lines with this method of storytelling, but To Be Hero X had so much planning and thought put into it that these difficult elements flowed well most of the time. Obviously, it isn't completely perfect, and some exposition left me scratching my head, but there's nothing so egregious that my faith in the quality of the plot was ever compromised. Not all of the top heroes explored in To Be Hero X become corrupted, but they're all fighting their own demons that led to others getting hurt throughout their arc. Some heroes fell fell into darkness, some are still fighting for justice, and some seek to fulfill their personal vendettas. Their ideologies and goals are so varying and complex, so seeing them interact with each other while knowing this information makes these interactions that much more foreboding. Thanks to beautiful capitalism, executives of top hero agencies are in a constant power struggle to see who can be the top agency so they can gain clout as a corporation and sell whatever their top hero shills. One would think that heroes, especially powerful ones, often cooperate to neutralize criminal activity and protect the civilian population, especially since hero powers are so varied and personality-based. In theory, this type of hero system would work, but unfortunately, penny pinchers that reach the top of corporations don't get there by simply following the rules and operating off of theory. The main executives we see in To Be Hero X are Rock, Zack, Mickey, and Shand. Although they aren't heroes themselves, they're far more influential than even the top 10 heroes because of how much knowledge they have of the trust value system. They were the first to realize that trust value can be farmed easily through superficial means, like social media stunts that are completely scripted. Once FOMO was created, becoming a hero was easier than ever, which led to plenty of young hobbyists being approached by these executives and having their lives twisted forever while they're told they're saving the world. These executives often pit their own employed heroes against each other and against other top heroes belonging to other agencies. Mickey will smile and laugh with a hero he's known for years before turning around and ordering their removal. He'll give the impression that he's working with a hero to get revenge on another agency, while he is on call with the head of that agency, scheming how to get rid of their newest problematic hero. To Be Hero X does a great job showing how cold and cruel these executives are, but it isn't like they're without reason, and since so many developed societies today also function similarly, it's very easy to see how they mirror real-life CEOs. It's chilling to see how every hero corporation doesn't truly value the talent they have on board, and are always willing to replace them if something goes awry. Through multiple different hero arcs, there are plenty of examples of top heroes who once had the title of X, falling from grace because their boss didn't think they were marketable enough to maintain the position. Not even the most veteran of heroes are safe from being replaced, sometimes by someone within, which really highlights how flimsy trust values are in the first place. These heroes are trusted by the public, but in reality, no one can be trusted. After a while, this toxic ideology trickles into the minds of these heroes, and many of them end up losing their way, falling into the trap of gaining clout and losing what made them an actual hero in the first place. This is where the antithesis energy source to trust, fear, comes into play. Fear is an energy source that one can harness, like trust, for attacks or strengthening abilities. Unlike trust, fear is much easier to gain, as humanity is far more willing to fear something than trust it. People also have the tendency to turn trust into fear, especially when that trust is rooted in strength, and the person utilizing that strength makes callous decisions. Fear's accessibility has allowed it to be a deadly weapon in the hands of fallen heroes. Although fear is easier to gain access to, it has the downside of eventually corrupting its user and everyone around them. It's an established energy source in the first arc of To Be Hero X, but subsequent hero arcs that go further back in time shed light onto how fear was discovered in the first place, and how the Hero Commission along with the Hero Agency executives reacted to its potential. You can probably guess how they viewed this volatile energy source that, if misused, could corrupt an entire population. Despite the dull outlook on the upper echelon of heroes, To Be Hero X does not abandon the idea of genuine heroes with actual ideals existing in its world. It goes out of its way to show that the real heroes aren't the people whose faces are plastered all over billboard ads trying to convince blue-collar workers to buy their gimmicky product, but the unsung individuals who work for their communities, making sure they're not just surviving, but thriving. Real heroes are people who put themselves on the line to protect what they view as precious without expecting anything in return. This idea is best highlighted near the end of To Be Hero X, when a young girl named Shinya adopts an old circus dog and changes his cynical mindset by valiantly fighting against a hero corporation that's trying to extort and take property away from her poor community. The irony of a hero corporation blackmailing the elderly because they don't know any better is palpable, but corpos have been doing this all over the world since the beginning of time. I love that To Be Hero X didn't tiptoe around this reality, and instead leveraged it to highlight what a real hero would do, especially near the end of the show, after I'd been bombarded with story after story of high-profile heroes losing their way and acting like anything but a hero. The best aspect of To Be Hero X is its visuals. This donghua is the very definition of jaw-dropping. Whenever there's an opportunity to flex unique animation, To Be Hero X will always take it. Whether it be constantly switching between gorgeous 3D animation and traditional 2D animation, or suddenly switching compositing to be more paint-like, To Be Hero X always keeps you on your feet. The unique visual direction isn't just for showing up in AMVs, it's leveraged to aid in subtle storytelling, especially the dimension changing. At first, I thought that was a stylistic choice made by the director to have past events be in 2D, with current events being in 3D. However, near the end of To Be Hero X, I was introduced to X himself, and realized that every time he snaps, the art style itself changes. Meaning earlier in the story, for other heroes, when the art style changes from 3D to 2D, it isn't just to show the passage of time, it's to show whenever X is using his abilities. Realizing this at the end of To Be Hero X blew my mind and made me go back to earlier episodes when the art style switched, just so I could piece together all the moving cogs in the background. Using visual media in this manner is a phenomenal way to convey information to the viewer without speaking a single word, and it also greatly increases To Be Hero X's rewatchability. The changes in visuals foreshadow future events by themselves. I also really like the experimentation To Be Hero X did with pixel animation, dynamic cameras, and hyper-stylized off-model sequences of animation. There's a lot of creativity at work here, and it's clear to see Ultimately, the production staff let their imaginations run wild. To Be Hero X is the kind of ambitious anime that needs to be applauded so we can get more projects like this in the future. Li Hoaling was willing to take a major risk by deviating away from a consistent aesthetic and instead decided to blend two distinct styles while telling multiple incredible character stories. I was impressed with his writing and link click, but seeing his creative evolution in To Be Hero X has been marvelous. Managing to carve a unique niche in the ever-popular superhero genre is incredibly impressive, especially since popular hero shows have been dominating the scene like My Hero Academia. Chinese donghua are on the rise, and Li Hoaling is one of the great generals leading the charge. You may have ignored donghua so far, but trust me, To Be Hero X will be one of the best viewing experiences you've ever had. You can't even use the excuse of not wanting to listen to Chinese dubs to avoid To Be Hero X. It literally has one of the most stacked Japanese voice actor casts ever.